Ladies and gentlemen, we are back in this wonderful place in Songshan. The first hand of the day, I looked down at Ace-8 of clubs on the bottom. Under the gun opened to 120. Low jack min raised to 240. It folded to me. I decided to fold as well because it looked like low jack has a really good hand, min raising under the gun like that. But instead of raising again, under the gun just made the call. The flop came 9-8-6 rainbow. Under the gun checked. Low jack bet 300, about half pot, and under the gun made the call. The turn came the 5 of hearts. Under the gun check. Low jack bet 500, a little smaller than the half pot. Under the gun made the call. Now we began to think this was a battle between two overpairs. The river arrived the 4 of spades. Under the gun checked. Low jack now bet 500, a very small bet. Now the board looked scary because any 7 would make a straight, but if you think about it, it's not that often these two players will have a 7 because it's a 3-bet pot. For the same reason people don't have a lot of 2 pairs on this board, but on the other hand, people could have lots of Jack 10s, 10 9s, Ace X that paired one of the cards on the board. So I guess a big raise here would get the low jack to fold. In reality though, under the gun folded after seeing the 500. Low jack later was kind enough to show the camera that he had aces. I guess who wouldn't fold even if it was faced with the big raise on the river. At these stakes, you don't see people folding aces often after all. The next hand, low jack limped, so it cut off at the bottom. I looked down at 5-4 offsuit on the small blind. Felt like this was going to be another family pot, so I made the call. Big blind checked, so we went 5 ways to the flop. The flop was really good for us. It came 6-4-3 rainbow. It all checked to the low jack. He bet 200, which was pot size. I guess the low jack had something. In these limp pots, I think players tend to be more honest because anyone can have anything. Now Easy, who was also in the hand, started saying, "Come on man, why'd you bet pot size? You can't have 5 deuce. You also can't have 7-5. You won't play like that." But I think people tend to bet when they have good cards. In limp pots as well as in bomb pots. So let's see. I have a pair and a straight draw, so I made the call. So did the cutoff and the big blind. The turn came another 6. It came the 6 of diamond. I checked. Easy in the big blind let out 40, saying that he would like to get raised, and the low jack indeed raised him to 440. The cutoff fold. I made the call, which I wish I didn't because Easy quickly re-raised to 1000, very small raise. Low jack made the call, and I did as well because I thought there was still hope for me. The pot was 4000, really big for a limp pot. The river came the 9 of clubs, a blank basically. I checked, ready to give up. Easy in the big blind bet 1000, and low jack quickly raised to 5000. I of course quickly folded, and Easy did not think too long before he made the call. Low jack flipped over 7-5 offsuit, so he had a natural born straight, so really people could have anything in these limp pots. Easy later said that he had a 6. Well, shame on me for not folding on the turn. The next hand, under the gun opened to 120. The bottom, the small blind, and the big blind all made the call. The flop came 10-9-6 with 2 clubs. Now the big blind decided to dunk 240, so again it was obvious that he had something. 2 pairs, a set, sometimes even a straight. It all folded to the small blind, who all of a sudden raised the dunk bet to 600. Now the small blind was a really loose player, so my guess was he just had a 10 or he was on a flush draw. The big blind made the call. The turn came the deuce of diamond. The small blind continued betting, 1100. The big blind quickly made the call. The river card was the 4 of diamonds. The small blind continued firing and bet half pot, he bet 2000, and the big blind quickly made the call. The small blind flipped over 9-6 suited, bottom 2 pair on the flop, but the big blind flipped over 10-9 offsuit, top 2 pair on the flop, so he took down the pot. I guess it's hand like this that you get to understand how a player is thinking, but of course you will have to be sober first. We have arrived at another limp pot. Under the gun, hijack, and the button all limped. I was on a small blind and decided to try something new. I decided to blind limp. I then look down and see ace deuce offsuit. Not bad. The big blind checked behind. The flop came some wonderful cards. It came 7 deuce deuce with 2 diamonds. I made trips with the ace kicker, and I have the nod backdoor flush draw. Now it's a limp pot, so somebody could have a deuce as well, or at least a 7. I decided to check first. Under the gun, Easy decided to bet 200, which was pot size, so I knew he had something. The hijack really took his time before folding, so I guess he also had a small pocket pair, but had no diamond. It folded to me, and I decided to raise it up right there to 1,200. If Easy had a deuce, he would definitely call, and he might call with a7 as well. If somebody had raised pre-flop, I wouldn't have raised on the flop. Unfortunately, he quickly folded to my raise and presented the ace of hearts. I can only assume the other card was a 7. So I guess it's good to play in limp pots once in a while too, because you get to know something about limp pots. This hand, I looked down at 9-6 of hearts under the gun and decided to limp. Not that I'm a fan of these particular numbers. Low jack limped after me, but the small blind raised to 220. Now the small blind was a type player and we usually limp on a situation like this, so he most likely had good hands. Only I made the call and we went heads up to the flop. The flop came queen 10-8 rainbow. I have a double gutter, so when the small blind bet 300, I made the call. The turn came the ace of diamond. The small blind started hesitating because he first grabbed a big chip and then moved to a smaller one. He eventually bet just 400, a little more than 1/3 of the pot. And I knew quickly that he didn't like this card. Back at the time, I thought he had jacks, queen jack, king queen, basically a big pair that hates the ace. I decided to turn my double gutter into a bluff, call and see if I could take down the pot on the river. The river came with another ace, the ace of spades. The small blind now quickly checked. I decided to try to represent the ace and steal the pot. I figured I didn't have to bet big to get him to fold if he indeed hated the ace on the turn. I decided to bet 1,200, a little more than half pot. The small blind didn't call quickly, which was good. In fact, he thought for a long time and then decided to fold. He had asked to exchange cards with me, and I was surprised to see he had pocket kings. Another ace on the river basically lowered my chance to have an ace. I was surprised that he would make such a tight fold. And as for him, well, he regretted seeing my cards. The next hand, another limp pot, so it all folded to the bottom and the bottom limped. I looked down at 10-7 offsuit and decided to limp as well. The big blind checked, so we went 3 ways to the flop. The flop came queen queen jack rainbow. Everybody checked. The turn came king of spades. We now turn a straight draw, good for us. It all checked to the bottom again, who bet pot size 120. Now this was the type player that we talked about. He was also very straightforward. I think he just had a king, because if he hit something on the flop, he would definitely bet. I made the call. The river came what we were looking for. It came the 9 of hearts. We made our straight, and I decided to get some value. I dunked 200, but the small blind quickly raised to 400, so I stopped to reevaluate. Could he have king queen? Nah. Ace 10? No, because he would have raised pre-flop. So I think I had the best hand, but the pot was too small and I didn't want to raise again, so I just called. I flipped over king 9 for the river 2 pair. I flipped over 10-7 and took down the pot. And then the small blind was like, "Man, why did you bet only 200? If I were you, I would bet big, man." Thanks. Now I know next time when I'm playing against you, I will make it big because, baby, I know your call. All good things have an end. We have come to the last hand at this wonderful place. I looked down at ace 10 of hearts on the big blind. Under the gun limped, so did the small blind. I opened to 160. Only the small blind, the tight player, made the call. We went heads up to the flop. The flop came ace jack 9 rainbow. Now the small blind decided to dunk 200. So immediately we know he has something. I have top pair, so I'm not folding yet, but I made the call with caution. The turn came the 10 of diamonds, so we made 2 pair. The small blind kept betting. He bet 400, about half pot. I made the call. The river came a similarly scary card. It came the queen of hearts. The small blind decided to check, and a king now would make it straight. If I bet, I think I will only get called by stronger hands, so I checked back. The small blind flipped over number 1, ace-9 offsuit. So he flopped 2 pair and fired 2 streets. I flipped over ace-10, a better 2 pair, and took down the pot. So with that, we ended our night happily in Songshan. There you go, video number 12. Again, I feel like my skills have improved after trying to analyze these hands for the videos. Just like always, I hope you have enjoyed the videos. Like our video, leave a message, and subscribe. I will see you next time.